press record?
I have.
Alright.
Well recorded.
So we are recording. And it's live. Hello. What episode are we on? Episode 5?
5, yeah.
Episode 5. Two Guys Podcast.
Well, the gentleman sat in the middle of me and Dale today. Don't need much of an introduction, I don't think, really. He's, for me personally, he's one of the most inspirational guys I've ever met. He's seen and done more than a lot of humans on this planet. And without further ado, Mr. Rick Clement. Good
Thanks for
afternoon,
having
Rick.
me.
Yeah,
Cheers for the very nice intro, mate. Probably a little bit more than I deserve, but I appreciate it all the same.
Any praise you get is fully deserving in my eyes.
Definitely. Hopefully we can go on a learning journey as well today.
Yeah, it's always a learning journey. Are you nervous?
No.
Really?
I didn't sleep last
I've done
night.
this morning 4 times and that. It's easy this. You're not Holly and Phil, are you?
Well,
Not yet though, guys, not yet. I will I'll just mention the little man's under here. He might pop out on the video now and again. Max the Bulldog, so if you hear any heavy breathing, it's not a girl underneath or anything like that.
Or a lad,
Not being
depending
fluffed.
what you persuade.
Well, whatever you prefer, but for me, it's a
Not
girl.
being fluffed. It was all about the rider. Water, fluffing, yes.
That's it.
There you go.
Right, I think we'll start. A good place to start is the beginning, I think. So, can you tell us a little bit about Rick as a little Rick? What were you like?
Yeah, sure. I was born and bred in Clitheroe, Lancashire, small town, not a lot going on there. Probably eventually why I joined the army, really. I prefer a bit more action and seeing the big wide world, I suppose. But I grew up in a small village just outside of Clitheroe called Chatburn. Chatburn Primary School. My mum still lives there now, still in the same house and stuff.
Yeah.
Still got a lot of ties over that way. But pretty uneventful, I suppose. The only sort of really outstanding or standout thing, outstanding in the youth that I remember was primary school wasn't a good experience for me. I was, as you know, I was a short arse, so I only dropped about 2 inches when I lost my legs. Do you know what I mean? So I was kind of picked on. I was very small frame wise as well, so people do don't really go for the smaller ones. Only at primary school, and I was glad to get to the end of primary school and start fresh at secondary school, and I kind of went there with the attitude that it wasn't going to happen again. And
Yeah.
It taught me a lot, you know. It was difficult, but I never felt like I didn't want to go back to school. I never got to that point, but it was. I know my parents were seriously worried at times, and I'd run away from school a couple of times because of issues with what was going on, and I felt teachers weren't sort of helping me out at all, and just things like that. So that, you know.
What year was this?
I would say I was probably sort of third to fifth year of primary school, so coming towards the end of it from sort of middle. So I was old enough to not retire here, but they were old enough to lunch properly and be nasty at the same time.
Are we talking 90s here or?
Yeah, you would have been sort of 90, 95, well probably 90. God, let me think now.
You're the same age as me?
In fact, you're talking late 80s.
Yeah, because schooling at the time was you'll go, you'll read this, you'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
you were
sit down
still,
how you
we
feel.
still had the slipper and stuff at primary school. You know, that was how long ago it was. So that's my most memorable part. I had a good upbringing. My mum and dad split up when I was like 1 or 2,
Right.
and then both remarried. So I saw my dad, but not too much. He's still there throughout my life now, but I became closer with my stepdad because I lived with my stepdad when I was so young, and he sort of eventually became my dad as far as I'm concerned.
A good role model.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I was, you know, good upbringing. They were both sort of worked hard as parents, and I was always taught that's what you do. You know, there was nobody in the family who you know, just didn't do anything, had no drive or whatever. So I had good examples, good role models.
Yeah.
I got good grades at primary school still, so like the bullying didn't really affect, you know, my work and stuff.
Yeah.
And I passed the 11 plus when we used to have to do that to get to grammar school.
Yeah, wow.
I did that.
They still, don't they still do it? Is it not
I'm
still
not sure,
happening
to be
now?
honest, mate.
No, 11 plus to get into grammar school. No?
I think we dropped it,
Just
or changed it or whatever.
Yeah, because it's a separate test, isn't it, to get into grammar
Yeah, yeah.
than your SAT.
So I did that and went off to the grammar school, and much life was a lot better there. It was a new start, new people. There was only one other person from my primary who went there, so it was like a complete new group of people to start again. So
Really change of environment.
yeah, and it was much needed. So it was a fresh start, a chance to kind of reinvent myself and not being that bullied kid. And you know, anybody who sort of tried, I guess, I'd just give it back to them straight away. And I learned not to kind of maybe run away from school and things like that. Just hunt them up.
Yeah, don't run away from the drama, just
Yeah,
stick
just,
with it.
Yeah,
It's almost like loads of people say as well, isn't it? The more you do one, it'll get worse.
yeah, I
Just
think
get worse and
that's
worse.
It's smart, aren't you, sometimes?
Yeah.
yeah, that's what they don't want, isn't it? You know, they say a lot of bullies are cowards, and I think it's true. Not all, don't get me wrong. There's probably a few that just levy you, but in general, you know, I think it's definitely
But
better.
it's often an expression. You said it the other week, didn't you? It's an expression of how they feel about themselves.
It can be, or they can have stuff going on at home, or you know,
Yeah.
Insecurities.
you always wonder the jobs and reasons behind a lot of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just did grammar school, got decent GCSEs, I think a couple of A's, mostly B's and one C, I think. But just, I'd had enough for school, to be honest. Didn't want to go on to further education. Started looking at jobs. Did one of those computer programs where you type in like your interests and it pops out a list of jobs, and it was like Army, Navy, Air Force or something like that.
Right.
Like, oh, that kind of like
Monitored, yeah, fix.
yeah. So I went to the careers office and had a you know, a bit of a chat with them, and that was it. Like, signed up, but my mum and dad wanted me to kind of use my grades, so I joined the REME first.
Los Angeles.
That was something that became a possibility later on. But yeah, I joined the REME, did basic training and stuff, and then got to sort of phase 2, where it was like a 12-month wait for your vehicle mechanic training.
Yeah,
I was like, this is a bit of a nightmare, and somebody had picked up on my grades, and I sort of mentioned about transferring, and maybe to the infantry, and they said, why don't you transfer as an officer? So I looked into that. I did a potential officers development course.
Yeah. Wow.
I never knew this.
Never. No, never.
I've known you over 20 years.
After I'd done that, I knew I weren't an officer.
Because it's like the etiquette and everything
It's,
like that.
yeah, I mean, you go through like reading the newspapers. I was reading the back of the Sun, do you know what I mean? And page 3 in the Daily Sport and stuff like that. So when they're talking about politics in the Mail and all that, I was just like, this ain't me. And
On the broad sheds.
just you know, it wasn't that.
Oh, hello.
I couldn't have done it, but it just didn't feel like me. So I did transfer, but I just transferred as a buckshear and over to Queen's Lancashire Regiment at the time.
What year we're talking?
That would have been 97 when I did phase 2 at Catterick for infantry, and I got to battalion 98. I think.
What made you choose QLR? Just
because it was local, I guess. Yeah, I'd sort of had a look and decided infantry, and then it made sense to kind of be with people from the same area that you probably had things in common with. But at the same time, it's not like you go in and they tell you about them all, is it? Like, the one in Blackburn sort of pushes you where it wants you to go, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're good at that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Very good at that.
Paras and stuff never really floated my boat, and from what I know now, I'm kind of glad, because they're just glorifying infantry at the end of the day. In my opinion, very good soldiers, but just the same.
It's
You
more
know.
Reggie Pride, I think.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. Like that.
drinking each other's piss and all that.
Yeah.
Not that it's a couple of lads on it.
But it's
Well, Mortars, they're Bez, they like stuff like that, don't they?
but it's same, innit? Whatever unit you get into, I was watching something else last night. You're taught that that's the best one.
Yeah.
Don't matter where you go, and it's almost. This is why I have such an affiliation with football as well. Your team is the best. Don't matter where you are in the league.
Yeah.
Don't nothing about that. Whoever you're into, this is the best one because your
Blind
dad
love.
says. yeah, blind love, blind loyalty.
But isn't it the same as like when you did pre-deployment courses and they'd be like, oh, you guys were the best that's been through this year. Or, you know, and we're like, yeah, of course.
I've said that.
But it's part of the thing, isn't it? Building you up to think, yeah, I'm going and we are the best. And
Yeah.
doing, you know.
Good for morale, isn't it?
Yeah. Half of the belief, and it's almost, I know we'll get into it in a bit, that often question that comes up, oh, were you not scared when you went into this situation?
Yeah.
Well, why would I be scared? I'm the best.
Yeah.
I'm better than that.
Aren't you?
Yeah. And again, like that mentality of being in the tunnel, you know, coming out at Wembley. Oh, you're not scared? Well, no, we're going to win.
You're focusing on that as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Not all the other elements outside. It's very focused, isn't it?
Just bringing it down from grammar school to the infantry, there's not many of them. That's the USP, that's unique.
Something that I have had mentioned to over a few when you talk to other guys generally, a lot of them come from
Probably being outside and being, like you said, with lads from your local area was more of the draw to me than Real Britannia with the old one penny scenario.
The videos around the time where probably all of us joined was what's his name, skiing down the slope. Do you remember?
That soldier program.
Yeah.
I want to do that. Robson and Joe.
Yeah.
They literally mentioned Butlins being like Butlins holiday camp in my sort of career opportunities and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Just, it was a big con, really.
Jet skis.
Was it Al Goodenough? Al Goodenough was one of the ones skiing. He was always into his skiing.
Yeah.
Mr. Mendonça was a big skier himself. He took us once, didn't he?
I remember I took in skiing.
Well, it must have been me and Jeff then. He never took us again.
Right. We've mentioned the red teams so far. I know you're a big fan of a certain team, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Man United all the way. No, I'm not from Manchester, but I'm not from London either.
Oh, China.
It was my stepdad.
China.
Who got me into him. He loved football and it was the thing that we had in common. And just, I think yeah, so it gave me this affinity with my stepdad from an early age. Something in common that we enjoyed together. Mostly just watching on TV back in the very early days of Sky Sports. The Premier League just started. Blackburn were just getting a bit of money and things like that.
Well, we talked about this one because my affiliate, I'm not from Manchester itself or London or China. It was my uncle. And at the time it was really hard because you're saying just as the Premier League started, we were shy. You know, so it's not like you've picked up, oh, this is the Ferguson era.
No,
I mean,
26 years, we were like, although I wasn't playing all of them, a lot of them.
What's your stepdad's name?
Graham.
So they're like, cheers, Graham. How did you feel going to school as a United fan at that time?
There was a few of us, but there was a lot more Liverpool, Everton, and a lot of them switched to Blackburn. You know, they call us, but even my own brother, even my own brother takes a mick out of me for being a glory hunter at times, and I'm like, you used to support United, and then you swapped to Blackburn. You know,
During
like,
SAS.
I remember. You forget.
As it is now, they were the first team to essentially buy that league, weren't they?
Yeah, especially they got the big money from Jack Walker, and that's the way you could do it that time. Fair play to them, you know.
Right,
they soon came from nowhere, but they soon dropped back down there as well, as you'll be happy about, won't you?
Karma, I call it. Karma. Right, so now we're up to. Did you tip up at Ormer?
Yeah, that was my first, but early on, air company owner.
Yeah. So we've got a young Private Clement. What platoon?
2 platoon.
Who were your head chef?
Flick for a few, we had Trevor Ollie for a bit. He was most actually. Then Mick Potter later on for a bit. Just initially the full crew, but he'd done seniors and then got promoted soon after that. That was it in terms of sergeants. We had Adam Crook, Lieutenant Crook, amazing platoon commander, and somebody who left actually not long after Ireland and went on, and he's doing great things down in London now, keeps in touch with, but even contacted me in hospital after what happened, which I'm sure we'll come on to in a bit, but amazing guy. He had a fruit bat from Mr. Smith.
Yeah, do you know what? He was my platoon commander in training.
Top guy again, such a character. The first OC he had was, he looked like Dr. Robotnik. Big, large man, ginger tash and everything. His name escapes me, but it'll come to me in a minute. And then we had the Sergeant Major, the man that liked a beer or two, Paul Edgecombe.
Oh yeah.
With the deepest voices.
Yeah. I found them really good to work with actually. I ended up getting an O+ in my first CR, which is the only one I ever had, but we're happy with that.
He settled in well.
But yeah,
Integrated.
I loved it. Ireland, I just thought it was brilliant. In particular, like being the antler man initially and stuff like that. You've got to do.
Carrying
Cal drops and
Get your own room as well. Don't you?
yeah, I never thought you'd get that. So it was great. You know, all the lads were like, "Come on, get out on the beer" in the early days, and you soon sort of get to know everybody. And yeah, it was just a little family in the platoon, and then bigger, and you started to get to know people around the battalion. And run away from RPs and stuff like that.
Remember when were you there when someone pinched them out of a helicopter down at helicopter?
Yeah.
And they searched the full block, full camp
Yeah.
for this tiny little thing, weren't they?
I have a feeling that was someone in the airport, if I remember rightly.
Because they were on stand down, weren't they? Because they went in cycle, they were on keg.
Was it something that worked the helicopter?
They actually got in it,
Yeah.
pinched them
I
off.
think they nicked us apart, if I remember right.
Yeah,
Just 'cause it was shiny.
They were
Probably.
massive.
Yeah, they were smashed. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who it was, but I can't remember. But if it comes back.
Can't name names.
No, that's it.
So an illegal procedure.
Yeah, they might be good, yeah, come back in court.
Ah, that's how it worked. So, NCO card is, you know, we're going about promotional posting now. So you start at private, and then you get your first strike, your lance corporal.
Yeah,
Where was that?
we came over from Norma over to Otterburn to do it. There's people like Stricky was on there.
Oh, yeah.
I think who else would have been on it?
Is it externally run or was it run by?
It was run by our lot, but they just shipped us over. I think we did a couple of weeks in camp in Norma and then shot off over to Otterburn for that.
And for those that don't know, Otterburn is like, it's horrible. It is the only place in Britain where it's set to rain and shit and snow. Or just everything, even height of summer, midges is about as wet as what you're getting.
Cold,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a horrific place to go and
Some
learn.
big hills. Off you go!
Won't get me a leaf off that tree.
And crawl back. Oh, cheers.
Sheephead smudgy on there. I've never seen a man run up an hill so many times as him. He was gobby as old and I can't.
So, did you get promoted straight off the back of that? Or did you
I had to wait a few months, I think. So probably somewhere around 6 months. I got my last shot from that.
It's a big step, isn't it? Going from the majority of privates, usually seen quite senior on to get on the best
Yeah, I mean, at our time you had people like Andy May who'd done 12 years plus and but some of them didn't want to get promoted, but then you had others who maybe done 5, 6, 7 years but didn't really want to do a bit of a carder because they didn't want ragging, but they weren't happy for you to kind of get above them either, so it was hard to kind of keep everyone happy. I always thought, you know, you had to do your job, otherwise, you know, you're the one who gets in the net, but at the same time it's not really nice having to tell a guy who's massively senior to you to do it, so you kind of had to.
It's not the dumb thing, because at the time, if the guy come at the end of that era where you could have career privates,
Oh yeah.
they were happy that this is going to be
they
my
were sort
role.
of dying for you, definitely.
Voucher. Oh, he got straight on. They used to do Queen's or Christmas speech, didn't they, in Cookham?
Yeah.
And all that. They've been in 22 years, some of them.
Yeah.
But Is it true they got the same pension as an RSM?
I'm not sure, I did hear something like that. I mean, the army doesn't sort you out well else, so I'd be very surprised if they looked into it, but fair play if they did.
That's going to be one of the duty rumour that started like back in the day.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But like you said, yeah, what are we getting an RSM special? What's the point in going getting a thrashing through all these courses? So
Yeah.
sit here, Tar. Well, I'm going on.
Right, so we've got your tape now. You find it easy to lead men because the transition's gone from being one of the bods to a leader now, isn't it? It's quite a big change career-wise.
Yeah, it was a change, but it's something I felt my sort of style suited. I'm not a shouter and a screamer.
Yeah.
I can do it if you really need to.
Yeah.
But I hated the people who did shout and scream because it just became white noise, doesn't it? You know,
Switch off.
just that's all they do, whether you're doing it good, bad, right, wrong, just whereas I found that I could speak to most people and just ask them, and a lot of them will do it because they're your mate, let's be honest, especially coming from back to Lancashire. So if you can just be respectful of people and explain why, you know, I know it's a bit of a rubbish job, but often if you go and do it with them, if it's like, you know, lead by example, as you say, mocking, stuff like that.
That's the nail on the head, isn't it? Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Show it. Anyone I ever come across, it's when they've shown me this is the right way to do it. They go away, give it a go, rather than you've done it wrong.
Demoralising,
yeah.
And again, I think our era probably went through that transfer of a lot of shouting and screaming people to where the army started to change and think more positive reinforcement. And like coming by the time I got as an instructor at depot, it was all geared towards positive. And
there weren't as many head or chest, were there?
no, you know, people weren't carrying the full bedrooms down to the garden.
Yeah. To show boots clean.
Yeah.
Sure as a bold tent peg.
Yeah. Carry everything.
No need, mate. No need.
But I think that's a fair reflection. Anybody who speaks, I'm going to come on to it in a bit. Your style is how you were with people has given you this legacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We've all got our own positives, negatives, and we've got to learn to work with that, haven't we?
Yeah. I think
Who would say no, but I would like to think in general I've given a good impression before I got injured and all that, you know what I mean?
somebody that lads could go to and say, I need help or I'm struggling with this. One of the kind of guys who would go to, whereas there's some they wouldn't necessarily do that because they'll get ridiculed or belittled in some way. You want to go to kind of guys, I think.
That's nice of you to say, and I would like, you know, I'd like to think there's more who think good than bad, definitely.
Yeah,
Do you think that's a reflection again of how you've been brought up?
I think that's helped because I was taught to work hard, be respectful to people, just, you know, manners, and it all comes into the way you deal with every person. And I'd like to think maybe with grades and a bit of intelligence has given me a little bit of help as well, in that I can probably read people and understand where they're coming from and use that as well, you know, because everybody, it's like we talk about football, all players need treated differently. Some of them need shouting and screaming about, they do.
Some do.
Some need an hand around the shoulder, and the army's no different.
Some people need giving like shit, as in banter.
Yeah.
They need it.
Yeah.
They really need it. How old were you when, I don't want to jump too forward there, Danny, but you're in a position of leadership as you're going through. What was your age range? I was very young. I was a bit too young, I think.
A Landstack would have probably been 20. Full screw probably 23, 24, guessing. Which I would say is probably a little bit young. But again, you just deal with the circumstances. Sergeant was a little bit later, so I was probably 20, 29, I think. So that was probably a good age actually by that point.
Yeah, got that maturity, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's right. When you transition across and you look around, it's seriously, you don't see many line managers and supervisors in the 20s. and especially not doing the job that we did.
No, there's a lot of pressure on you at young age, definitely.
Because you need to know what you're doing, don't you?
Yeah.
If something does go wrong, they look at you, and people above you look down at you to do your job, don't they? So you've got to do it.
You look at, you know, say you're a full screw at 23, 24 years old, some were younger, weren't they, you know, likes of Yozza and stuff, who flew, you know. They could have been in a firefight in Iraq, maybe more that age, and he'd have had to deal with, you know, a section assaulting an enemy, maybe even off multiple or whatever, and all them lives are on his line at maybe probably Yozza was maybe 20, 21 or something, full screw. When you think about it like that, it's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very dangerous as well, but you do train to that high level of the worst case scenario, don't you?
Yeah.
It's like you're getting max casualties, there's, people need first aid, there's all sorts going on. So when it does actually happen, you just kick into gear, don't you? It's like autopilot.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. That's what it's all about, isn't it? They drill it into us, as they say, but
well, something that you can't teach as well, like you said it before, the man management of the people, how they need to be treated different but the same. Yeah. It's how do you get that balance? You know, it's almost a contradiction of itself, isn't it? And like I said today, I've been dying to tell this story.
Oh yeah.
So I'll draw you back. So it's you ran, well, amongst others, my crew Brecon.
yeah.
And there was we were casting your mind back to the deepest, darkest Germany, and this is stuck with me. I think, I don't know how old I was at the time, very early 20s, getting ready for the next stage of my career, with a ginger person leading it.
Yeah.
Whose morale was always very low.
Oh.
Hey, and it turns out he said some very nice things to me after that course, but there's a group of people and you were taking an instructing course of how to go and look after yourself and others out in the wild. Lots of sleep deprivation, lots of food deprivation, and nothing like what you see on Monday nights on SAS. There wasn't much getting fucked around. It was literally get you to your limits and see if you can manage yourselves.
Yeah.
From my side, this is the way I saw it. Whoever was behind this, if it was just you, I'd never know, but you'd seen that the group must have been working. It must have been doing what it must have been doing, but we've been out in the woods, in what they call an arbour area, freezing our tits off, starving, hungry, not very good. And I think a message come over the radio, you need to be at this clearing at this time. Straight away, because I was bashing up with Goldie. And he turned to me and he said, we're getting messed around here. Get ready. Everyone get ready. I was with Ben Simpson.
Yeah.
I'll say something about him in a sec, but he just turned around and he just went, everyone get ready for this. Because there have been a couple of incidences. This is going to be horrible. So my mind, I'd gone straight to doom. Yes. I'd nearly jacked. At that point, I'd nearly gone, I've had enough of this. Yeah. I don't need this. I want to go and be a drummer in a band. I don't want to be in the army. I've had enough. Yeah, I'm done. And we got to this clearing to paint you a picture, and you were down on one knee. Right, get around, which in the symbol, or when you're in the army, this is, you're about to be told something really bad. There's never any good news, is there? Right, get down on one knee, get around me, you wait for a set of orders, and I was ready to pull the pin. No, I'm done here. There was a couple of other things on that course where Goldie carried me along, and we actually slept in a barn one night. Yeah. And as you're about to obviously give us this really bad news, pulled a sheet across, and there was buckets of KFC. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, and it's like the waft hits you. Did you cry? Cried me. Well, it was Carl Wilson, it was Brownie. He was stood next to me, and he just turned and he just hugged me. Just hugged me, and he went, "Do you think that's for us?" And there was that split second of thought that Rick's going to eat this in front of us.
See if you can snap.
'Yeah, but it were a case of you turn around and you went, get that in you, get your head sorted, sort your lives out. You're obviously hungry. And that's stuck with me for a very, very long time. When times have been hard. Yeah.
Little things.
Doing all the little things.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it, but it's something I haven't thought about for a long time until you brought it up. I remember that course. I remember, if I remember rightly, you'd been doing patrols, and then you're up all night doing patrol reports for a couple of nights.
Something like
And
that.
if they were wrong, you were up again. And I remember there were a lot of people who basically hadn't slept for 1 or 2 nights, and I knew how I'd feel. I was obviously one of the permanent staff, so I was sleeping in front of me, fought on a relatively warm and dry, do you know what I mean, compared to these boys. And obviously nipping off to get kip and stuff in between, and the perks that you get as one of the instructors. But yeah, I think as I saw, particularly I remember those reports and just going, and if I remember rightly, it might have been Ruffers or it might have been Simo, but somebody, I had to collect them all in and take them back, and like somebody had literally done about two things on it, and you just knew, you just knew. I had to go and give them, and they were like, please don't take it back, and I'm like, mate, if I don't take these back, then he asked me why I haven't got it, and I'm the one, I've got to.
Yeah.
So I had to take them back, and then obviously they all got messed around for the ones that didn't, and ones had to then fill in the next night, and I just thought, I'll do something for a bit of morale, and yeah, there were nobody else. John Marlowe never knew to this day, like, I never told him, he'd have probably killed me. But yeah, I just thought, I'll go and take some KFC, because I think it'd give me a chance to nip out for something for us. So I snuck and we got some more and thought, let's do a drop off.
Yeah, there were people ready. I was one of them. Just put your hand up and say, I'm out of here. I've had enough of this. I don't need this. But I mentioned Ben before, and I hope he watches this, because that was one of the times when there was a lot of headstrong people on that course, and a lot of people that you'd say really confident. Do you know what I mean? Personalities were out there. Goldie being one of them. There were a couple of others, and he was one that, for me, when we were out away from instructors and everything like that brought everybody together. And there was you were teamed up with Brownie, with Carl Wilson.
Yeah.
And them two, they become like mum and dad.
Yeah.
They
well,
really
older,
did.
Weren't they? They're older, aren't they?
Yeah, they were older. And through that, and I've said it, I hope he gets to see this, he was pivotal on that course, from people not jacking. You know, putting an arm around people, because he still is extremely physically fit.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, when your fitness is starting to wane, and your head starts to go, somebody turns round and says, you know that link? Put it in my burger.
It's a snowball effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
And little problems. They're tiny, but they seem to, when you're tired and hungry, they get magnified, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
I am shit. I'm not good enough to be here. And once that starts happening, if someone's keeping you up afloat, it's very helpful.
But I learnt a lot on that, definitely. So it kept me going. Lessons learnt from them.
Yeah, it was a good set of lads. I enjoyed it. It was one of the first times I've done like an instructor on anything, so it was good. But that was nerve-wracking with John in charge, because John likes things done properly, and you know he was a stickler for it, and so I knew I had to be on my game, like when I was instructing, like, because he'd watch me doing them, you know.
Well, I remember getting hammered down. I nearly cried because I couldn't find my compass. I thought I'd lost my compass. It was in my top left.
Yeah, it's tiny, isn't it?
Yeah, you just don't think. Oh, I found it too late.
Has he ever got like a KFC bag?
No.
Still old? Right.
No,
one times KFC.
We'll get the band back together. Everyone buys a bit.
Brownie's in Cyprus, isn't it?
Well, he has to
wait for his
PayPal.
Yeah.
They've been lifted, haven't they? Cyprus. They're all back in
Yeah.
normal jogging.
Are they?
Well, they imposed stricter measures on us, so they got out of it quicker.
So they've been kept on licking toes and washing hands. Something else.
He's been a pain in the ass, hasn't he?
Right, so you're a full screw now. when did you use seniors? What year?
I think 2002, but I ended up having to go back for tactics because I broke my ribs the first time. Not on the course, on a weekend playing football. It's typical, right?
Yeah.
But I hated that because down there they were like, are you really injured? Because they used to all the bluffers, like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm telling you, I can't even laugh. I had to get someone else to drive my car to get us back down there. That's, you know, I don't know if you've ever brought your ribs, but it's just not funny, is it?
No.
When you laugh or anything and breathe.
Sneeze, wee,
Trouble,
anything.
Yeah, so I was like, there's no way I can continue on the course. I didn't want to go, but so you go back and then people at the battalion start, oh yeah, you failed it. And I just thought, no idea, you know, but you just got to take it, haven't you?
Yeah, some of them just, they give you grief and they've never even been.
Yeah.
Get back in your little kennel.
And then it kind of, a little bit of a nightmare happened after that because I got offered a posting by Big Vern. Still in their company. Get your full screw, but at some point while I was on the posting I'd have to go and finish tactics, which was fine. So I told my mum, family, friends, I've been getting promoted. It was told in front of the company and everything, so you think it's right. And then the next thing, I'm talking to Lee Calvi and he's like, oh yeah, I'm getting posted to Purbright, I think. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be going there, we're going together, like. And then I did a bit more reading into it and they basically...
Purbright.
Yeah, so I got this sort of promotion and then unpromoted all within like a day. So I basically like stormed to OC's office and I've never ever been disrespectful to anyone of rank. Like it's just not in my nature. But I was quite disrespectful to him, and that ended by basically me being thrown out of the company to the stores in HQ company. And I ended up doing the tour of Iraq as HQ storeman.
Wow.
And I was very bitter at the time, to be honest, about it.
We've gone from...
I knew I'd kind of said things that I shouldn't have, but I still felt I'd been harshly treated in the first place to say what I felt. And he obviously didn't like it, and that happened. But he left the company just after Iraq, and Tomo, Sergeant Major, he was there before and after, and I spoke to him and he was like, yeah, you can come back as long as you're happy to do Brecon. I was like, because one of the things I think I threw at the OC at the time was you can shove Brecon up your arse, that sort of thing, you know, that sort of conversation. So I was like, yeah, of course I'll do it, I'll go back and do tactics, and thankfully they let me back to their company and I managed to kind of, I lost a bit of time and I lost, I mean I still worked hard in Iraq, but I was gutted not to be doing it with my lads and you know, just being stores with Mick Huxley and that sort of all that side of stuff out.
Because when you go into that environment before it's your time, because for people again who don't know, there's like normally a natural progression, isn't there, into going into the stores.
Yeah.
So it's when you making that jump from platoon sergeant to colour sergeant, it's expected now you've done that bit, go and do this admin role. When it's too early, it's demasculated. You use that word, not slang word.
Generally injured people or whatever, they go there while they recovered, don't they, and things like that. There were certain people who took to it and stayed in it, you know, and that's their choice. But for me, no. I mean, it was easy. It was like I didn't find difficult work or anything. I ended up like as a lance jack still doing like when Mick went back on leave from Iraq, I'm running store. You know. So in that sense, it probably helped me get a decent CR through that and having responsibility of a store as a lance jack. But still, I was gutted and glad to get back to the rifle company and go and finish Brecon and finally get promoted. Not too long after.
It's like putting a pair of comfy trainers back on, isn't it? When you get back into what you're used to and your surroundings. I loved it. There's nothing else like it, I don't think.
No.
You invest a lot of yourself and obviously your time into other people and getting your little train set how you want it to run.
Yeah, definitely.
I used to love it. And to get it taken off you, it's not nice, is it?
And again, because you become a people person, go and look after these inanimate objects.
Yeah.
Count them.
Yeah.
Look after them. They don't talk back to you. They don't give you any kind of reflection.
And look after Felton and McNally.
Oh my God. The American and the Gringo.
Oh
yeah.
Felton.
I never believed that was his name, McNally. I never.
Chico.
No.
Yeah, Chico. I thought that was his real name.
Yeah.
That's another story. That's another podcast.
Yeah. What a Chico.
Oh yeah.
From Burnley as well. Mexican from
Is
Burnley.
it?
Right, so they've said they've welcomed you back. Thanks to Tomo. You've got back in normal jogging. You're doing your role. What you're happy with. Just take us through from there onto seniors and then forward.
So we did sort of Cyprus, didn't we?
Yeah.
Did a pre-seniors towards the end of that, and then trying to get the timeline right here, but come back to Germany, and then got posted out as a screw to ITC for 2 years. Really enjoyed that. When I did my school, secondary school, I forget what you call it, where you go off and do a job for a couple of
experience.
That's it, work experience, yeah.
I call it look at life.
Yeah. So I did that, and I went to a school and did and as a teaching, well not as a teacher, but as watching, mirroring them, and I really enjoyed that. So that's possibly something that I'd have looked at. But the army then gave you that as well, so that was something I still got to go out to the world, but enjoyed doing some teaching, albeit rifles rather than English or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And that was a good time.
Schematics, isn't it? Same schematics.
Yeah.
You know, EDIP, all the rest of it, regardless
Absolutely,
of what you're doing.
there's so much crossover. You know, teaching's teaching, whatever your subject is, isn't it? And
Passing on knowledge, aren't you?
yeah.
The end result, really.
So yeah, that was good, and I met that was kind of the time where we obviously just passed amalgamating, so I got to spend a lot of time with a few of the sort of King Roll guys and stuff there in the training team, and met some good lads. I have a claim to fame that, as far as I'm aware, and I think you'll struggle to have somebody claim different, but I was the last surviving QLR soldier.
Really?
Because when we amalgamated, I was in Australia on long look, and they
wow.
sent me the berry,
Long
and I just blew it out and wore my QLR for the rest of it. I thought, what's the point of changing it here? The Aussies are going to be like, what's all this about? I thought, so once I go back, I'll obviously change over. But yeah, I did about another 2.5, 3 months on QLR.
I'm sure there'll be somebody in the comments now going through the box.
Yeah,
Where was I?
Yeah.
Australia.
So, yeah, that was amazing. Everyone has said, oh, you go over there and they just give you a car and some money and off you go. Well, that wasn't the case at all. However, it wasn't difficult. I fully did what they did in one of their platoons as one of their section commanders. But like we did their CFT, and there were smoke breaks on it. People got to wear their iPods and just like jingle along. I can't remember if it was a short distance in the same time or same distance, longer time. Either way, it was a lot easier.
More relaxed outlook.
Yeah. And you got to the end of it, and they'd set up a barbecue and everything like so. It was just get on the beer.
Yeah, I reminded some of that.
Every Friday afternoon, the whole battalion got together, did all the promotions and stuff, and then they all had to have a beer together before they went home. And that was just little things like that. Just such a great time.
Encouraging the drinking culture there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was
Yeah.
looked after by their boys, and I did get some leave and stuff to travel about, but no, I was like in the bush doing exercise and stuff with all the creepy crawlers, and it was great experience.
How did you get on that?
Just put my name down on there was a way of applying, definitely. Just pure luck that I got chose, but definitely one of the best things. if I hadn't got injured, my plan was eventually to transfer over to them guys.
Right.
And
A lot do,
do
don't
what
they?
Kelvin, Stacey, and
He's-
Terry Blacky's over there, and
Yeah.
a few.
Stacey, he's a citizen now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
There was a
but
couple who got the
Wow.
citizenship while I was there, and they made them do all sorts of stuff like we would, crawling, drinking shots, and getting your citizen.
You're an Aussie
It
now.
was great, yeah, it was brilliant. But yeah, such a
What about that? I'd love to have gone there. Yeah, you're very lucky.
yeah, absolutely. Like to get
Friends in the butts.
I don't know if it was or not. No one's ever said, but whether it were my piece of luck, I'll take it all day.
No. No.
Don't even,
No.
don't even bother filling that in, Danny.
No.
You're a fucking nightmare.
But it's again, it's a different type of pressure as well, isn't it? Because you're going representing who we are and what we do.
Absolutely. I mean,
you know.
they were doing house clearances, and they were like, "Well, how do you guys do it?" And the next thing, they're like, "Oh, can you do a lesson for our company?" And I've got their OC and that in front of me as a lunch chat, teaching them how to do house clearances. Just thinking, oh my God, like, but I did it. I mean, to be honest, they wouldn't have known if I were doing it right or wrong, I guess, would they? But they ended up taking on some of our tactics from that, and thought, I hope we don't fight against them. I'm just totally enemy.
Yeah, the legs are
Like,
you went the
get rid
phantom
of
shit
him.
with you. They were everywhere.
No, I didn't do any helicopter breaking.
Did R7's got done once, didn't it? In Cattery, surface laid on, either on carpet or on
That's a
desk.
brave man,
There's
that,
a
yeah.
few, yeah.
Yeah,
Phantom
well,
shitter.
There's got to be someone high up that to have access to. I can't imagine a Bob doing that.
Well, we had one in Iraq, didn't we? We had the age-old story of what had happened is we'd done an op and we'd gone through the wrong door, as you do. You know, int indicates you've gone through the wrong door.
Yeah.
So the people who lived in the house weren't very happy, expressed that opinion to us,
Yeah.
and said patrol commander on a patrol a few weeks later on at night time said, I need a surface laid. So we had to go on all round defence while he's dropped a log at the front door, managed to set it alight, banged on the door, bah, 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 and they've come out, whoa, done the age old, and stamped
Well,
out
ones are
the
the
fire.
best.
Yeah. So there we go. In fact, it might have been him. No.
Laying bar, mate.
But he was of Sandhurst persuasion, so no name shall be mentioned.
Yeah.
Right, so yeah, we come back from the Oz.
Yeah, depot, and then back to Germany for a very short time. I didn't really do much time in Germany at all, really, with obviously being posted out. And then that's when I did seniors. I mean that's definitely the hardest course, but the great thing about seniors is if you pass it, you're never going back to that bloody Brecon camp ever
It's your
again.
last course, isn't it?
For like serious stuff, unless it's a battalion exercise or whatever it might be. And it were had some good lads on there. Andrew Wilkinson, Wilkie,
Oh yeah.
Andy Pearce.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was a few of ours on anyway that I knew quite well, so we had a good laugh. Most of our morale was coming from I was seeing a bird only a short time and not really serious, just somebody I'd met and just messing about with, if you will. So she was sending me photos and I was showing out lads for a bit of morale.
What did you do?
So that's things like that will keep you going and stuff.
Yeah.
And, but it was seniors, you know, it's difficult, but it teaches you a lot. It was starting to change then for the better, where they were incorporating the Afghan patrol bases and stuff like that, which was just better than the old digging trenches and going on doing.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you that because a lot of like my training, it was all focused on the Cold War.
Yeah.
The Russians are coming,
Yeah.
and then you go off to Iraq.
Yeah.
This doesn't transition across at all.
No.
Well, it's like grass in your helmet.
Yeah.
You come to a desert.
So yeah, I enjoyed that side, that it was more modern and relevant, absolutely. And then it was a case of obviously waiting for the promotion board, and then this tour came up, I was still A company, and I was a I was a full screw for Lee Calvey's platoon in A company. And then the opportunity came up that they wanted to form an extra platoon, 13 platoon, and they wanted me to be the sergeant and pick up sort of acting until the board, because they pretty much knew that I'd pick up on the next board from what I had and stuff from my scores and the rest of it. So they said, yeah, you'll pick up your acting, and you'll form this new platoon with bods from all over the gaff. Yeah. But it was good. It was thrown into the deep end a little bit, because do you remember the platoon files that the platoon sergeants had spent months making? I had about 3 weeks to do my platoon before they had to be in it. So I was like, oh, but luckily I'm quite just organised, a bit OCD with things. So you know, I did it. Lee Calvey helped me by lending me his to go off, and it got knocked out soon enough. At the same time, obviously, still carry out, start getting the lads ready, and be the platoon sergeant. But I think all my career, I'd wanted to hit that 3 stripes. It's your first senior rank in it, and I guess not to say I didn't want to go further, but I'd have been quite happy if I had have just made sergeant, you know, and that's the way my career had gone.
You're the Mac Daddy of your own platoon as well, aren't you?
Yeah, you've got the boss obviously, but let's be honest, if he's a good boss, he's listening to his sergeant, you know, and still doing his own thing to an extent, but you know, within your advice sort of thing. So yeah, you know, it was brilliant, and to get that to go to Afghanistan was obviously a massive responsibility, but a massive privilege. And I had a great bunch of lads, even the reserve guys, you know, top lads who we got on, do all the pre-deployment training, and it just brings you all close to it, because you're just constantly with each other for months on end.
Well, Bez mentioned when we did this last time, that because we said, well, were you nervous? Because Afghan, by that point, had been going on a long while, hadn't it?
Yeah.
10 years or so. So there's a lot of history behind it, and everyone knew the magnitude of what. It was still very kinetic, weren't it? We were just coming into summer, and historically that's when all the fighting is, isn't it? When they've done the crop and whatnot. And Bez said he was nervous, which I think is an obvious human emotion that you're going to go through, because in a similar situation you've got your guys, there's a lot of them, you're in charge of that a heck of a lot of money's worth of kit. It's all on, everything's on you, innit?
Yeah, definitely.
Do your job, and you've got to maintain that and yourself. Did you find that difficult?
It was daunting, definitely. I remember everyone else had flown out, and we were the last company because of do you remember the volcanic things from Iceland?
Yeah.
And they delayed us, so we were messing about, and it was literally typical army. We're out on a run in the morning, get back, we've got to go, run back, get on the coach, and then they say, oh no, cancel, flight's cancelled, and off you go back like to the rest of your day. And the lads were sort of saying bye to the families, and then, oh no, you can go on this weekend again. And I ended up choosing, I spoke to the minister at the time and said, look, I'm not going to come back, we've said our goodbyes, it's just going to prolong it. And so that was my choice, but a lot of the lads still went home, and that must have been difficult for them, and it was just up and down, and at the same time you just want to get over there because everyone else is over there and getting set up and stuff, and finally the day comes and we get over there, and we were meeting some of the families again, and just like some of the parents were coming to me and saying, you know, look after my son and stuff, and you know, it's like you're suddenly thinking, yeah, I am got to look after him, and you're promising him that you will, but you can't guarantee anything as much as you'll do everything in your power. But that I was just so worried about them. I didn't really give much thought to myself in terms of, you know, I was prepped and stuff, but I just thought I need to be ready when something happens, that I'm ready to get them back or whatever's needed, and that was just all I thought about really. terms of like getting the kit and getting them all ready and stuff, that just ticks over. I guess you're organised. There's a CQs and everything just goes quite smoothly, and you deal with problems as they come.
But it's like a shepherd, isn't it? You're worried about your flock.
Absolutely, yeah.
Everything geared towards them. But did you have, again, because you've been out in environments before, do you have any lads who were really young?
Yeah, there was a couple who were sort of, you know, not much over 18 and stuff, and you know, when you look at them, I'm now 30, and there's a big difference, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, they're a kid, and in many ways, you know, they say you feel like a bit like the dad,
Yeah.
you know, and they look at you.
Yeah.
Puddles and brews.
Yeah, there's so many roles that you perform for them. I felt it, but I never really felt they felt it until after I got injured years later and seen the guys again. And unfortunately, I watched his funeral when he took his own life. But Moggy, funnily enough, said to me, "I rung my mum after you got injured," and I said, "Mum, I'm fucked." You know, because I'd brought him through basic training and then obviously my platoon, and I didn't, you know, you don't see it from their point of view, that they actually see it in the way that you feel.
Is it again, you believe, I think we'll all reflect on this, but you become a matriarch of that platoon, you are bulletproof.
Yeah.
You're magical. You know, it's almost like a mystical creature is your platoon sergeant.
Yeah.
It's
Nothing
what
scares
it is.
them.
And especially at my age, being like 19 when I first deployed, everything you're told of platoon sergeant, that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's your looked after, you know, that's...
He's been where you have, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And he's seen everything and done it all, so you think, I want to be like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cookie mine.
Yeah.
Thinking, I want to be like you.
Absolutely.
The heroes, aren't they?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I remember Moggy told me about that, what you just said. It just stands testament to what I said about you. People have they always have had, even before obviously what went on. You've always been a sound guy who knows what he's doing.
Tries, definitely.
You've got a grey matter between your ears anyway. So, right, we're going to get on to the main meat of it now, I think. You've covered it, obviously, a lot on TV and since then, but for people who haven't or don't even know Rick, this is, I'd say, it's going to be quite upsetting because these are life-changing injuries that Rick had, and he's had to cope with himself. So, just take us through that day.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, we were at a patrol base in Afghanistan. The boss says he wants to put a route check out on one side, and I'm taking the other team to do a satellite patrol, just for non-military, just circle around. Anything happens to the team that's checking people on the roads and whatnot, then we react to that. So off we go. You guys will know, but obviously for others, you're told to avoid anywhere that's channelled.
Yeah.
And an obvious channel would be a bridge across a river, because you're going to use that rather than wading through the river. But obviously footpaths can be the gullies or irrigation ditches at the side of footpaths can be channelled. Buildings are a type of channel. There's, as you know, there's umpteen different types. So it's route selection and making difficult choices sometimes. And this day we pushed out. I've got Val and Man at the front, the metal detector that's checking for IEDs, one guy behind him, and then myself leading at the front, as you should do.
Yeah.
I had good confidence in my Val and Man and everything. I felt they knew what they were doing and that. So although you do just watch them, I felt like I can be looking around thinking, where can I put a heli and all the rest of the stuff that you've obviously got to be thinking about.
There's a million and one things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Programming as you're walking. Yeah.
And we're just patrolling out on this morning, and we crossed through some open fields, and I wanted to get across the other side of the road that the other team were on. And to get sort of to the road, there was a building on the right hand side, a footpath, and then an irrigation ditch. and then some severely sort of dense vegetation that would have took some real sort of jungle fighting through.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go through the building, no chance, you know, unless you have to, with all the obviously booby trap potential, doors, walls, floors, everything else. So it was a sort of a split between the path or the ditch, and some of the info we've been given recently was that they were starting to do the ditches because that's what we were using instead of the footpaths.
So they were learning.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
reacting to our things.
Cat and mouse.
So I felt it was safer to go down the footpath with the Valen. I felt he didn't get it. It was probably 10 to 15 metres that we needed to move around it before we were off it again and on through open ground. So that's the way we went, and just going along there, and by luck, fate, whatever it may be, I don't know if it was set to go off with heavier weight with me carrying the radio and stuff, or whether it was just they missed it by millimetres in front of me. But I set off the, thanks for the lawnmower, I set off the IED, and yeah, so we're walking along, and I set off the IED. To me, it sounded like and the camera might not even pick that up, it was literally like a puff. Yeah. But obviously in reality, a massive explosion. The guy said the crater was quite wide and about half a metre into the ground, and I was in the bottom of it. Initially, I was awake, but I just didn't know what had happened. I didn't feel any pain or anything, just couldn't see anything. The first real sort of it's me and it's happened was obviously the guys coming to me, starting to treat me, and that's where pain started to kick in and the reality of the situation. And, I don't remember seeing anything. I don't know if I shut my eyes or whether my brain has just deleted it. Yeah. Either way, probably a very good thing for obviously my mental health now. But hearing everything, I remember what they were saying. I said a couple of things. I was more just shouting in pain earlier on, and then the Kazivac me back to the patrol base because we weren't that far away, and the helicopter had been called in. The guys did an amazing job of just doing what we were taught and taking over on the radio and doing my job essentially, because I should have been that guy. And that's kind of, I suppose, my biggest regret about it, that I wasn't able to be there to assist them. But they Kazivac me back, and I heard Fathead Unzi. Yeah. I heard his voice because he'd come out of the base, and I recognised that, and he was the one that I said, yeah, my legs are like, are they gone? And he was straight up with me, yes mate, you know, you're in a bad way, but you're going to be alright type stuff, as we're all taught to do. Yeah. They then obviously, helicopter arrives, MERT team come out, and I'm chucked on the back of there. At this point they're supposed to put me out and deal with me almost like a cold piece of meat, I guess, because it makes it easier than someone who's alive and talking and wiggling around. But I remember him putting the oxygen mask on my face, and it felt like I couldn't breathe with it on, whereas it was, in reality, it was the opposite. It was helping, but I was just pulling it off and not having any of it. And they were trying to say to me, go to sleep, and then you wake up with your family, and people obviously ask you, don't they, like, did you see a white light, or did you see your light flashing? None of that. I just remember thinking, if I'm awake, then I'm all right. So I'm not going to sleep. End off. And I fought with them until the point where they just gave in and treated me as I was and left me alive. So awake, I should say. And then flew me back. I think it was about just under 20 minutes for the chopper to arrive and then to get me back to Bastion. So it was quick, it was good. Again, people doing amazing jobs with me.
It's an incredible mindset as well that you've got yourself in. Like you just said then, the only bit that you were thinking was, I'm a bit pissed off. I'm not helping my blokes. Yeah, I'm not there.
It's what you've trained for months, and it's in your mind, I guess, isn't it? and it will always be my regret. But
It's
at
that
the same
selflessness,
time,
it's selflessness coming through, isn't it?
Core
Yeah,
value,
core
isn't it?
value.
I'm so joining on to that. I'm so glad that it was me and not any of them. I know we had one guy in front of me who took a bit of the blast and he had to get Kazuat, his neck aspirin, but he's fully recovered now, thankfully, certainly physically anyway. But I am glad it was me rather than them, because I'm not sure how I'd have felt to deal with one of my lads ending up like I did. You know, it's my responsibility, especially as I'd have chosen a route. It's a lot easier to justify to yourself when it's you that's took your decision. So getting back to obviously landing in Bastion and being handed over then to the guys, the main doctors, the sort of proper surgeons and stuff, who were apparently not happy that I was still awake, and gave the MERT team a bit of a rift in. But they then jabbed me, and that's me. The next stage, 3 weeks, is like I'm asleep. It's easy for me. Probably not for my body physically, like, but I think the doctor said that I was running a marathon in terms of my heartbeat and stuff, keeping me alive. I was resuscitated twice on the plane back to the UK, so it was close, definitely. But for me, like I say, I don't remember too much or anything until I was starting to be brought out of the coma, and then it was just a madness of morphine dreams mixed with reality, and that was just crazy. I had dreams where I was escaping from hospital, and the hospital, like the building, was flying in the air, and like that advert with a shed with propellers flies out.
So you see that, you go, thanks for that.
Yeah, the hospital flies off and catches me and takes me back. I had a dream where I went to Headley Court, a place I'd never been to, but I went there, I got some new legs sorted, and I went back to Afghanistan, and I did a full assault operation, what I can remember every piece of.
How long was this going on for, pal, these dreams? Was it weeks?
3 or 4 days of really sort of severe, where I just couldn't tell what was, because people would visit me and they'd be in the dream, but I wouldn't know if it was real or dream.
Was this going on for months or weeks?
No, literally 3 or 4 days of really bad, as they were sort of weaning me off the
right, I get you, sorry, yeah.
But it came to a point where, because I didn't know what was real and what was false, I thought I had these new legs, and I was like pulling the tubes out and refusing to have nurses let them do stuff to me, and fighting with them, and they were discussing putting me back under. My family had spoke to me, the obviously doctors, nurses, everyone had sort of tried to calm me down, but I wasn't having it because I didn't believe what they were telling me. I was still saying, pass me my boots, and just not getting it. And Al Goodenough was down there, funnily enough. Not a guy who had much to do with in my career, really. I knew who he was, but he was always with other things. But he was there looking after my family as part of the military liaison and stuff. And he kind of said, do you mind if I ever try? You know, my mum and dad were like, well, everyone else has, so yeah, go for it, sort of thing. But it was last chance before they were going to put me back into the coma, basically, and hope that then I'd come back out later on. And he came in and he asked me a couple of questions. He later told me, it was like, what's the calibre of our rifles, you know, and I answered 5.56, and couple, to make sure my brain was ticking over correctly. And once I'd answered the questions, he said, right, I'm telling you, I'm giving you an order now, you need to let them put the tubes back in, this is the situation, get yourself better. And I was like, yes sir, no problem, and that was it. Like a switch. I was told. Absolutely compliant.
Well, we talked about this programming, didn't we? He's tapped into your programming. Very, very intelligent bit, and probably again saved you fucking psychological pattern at that time.
Absolutely.
So this is what he needs, and it's going back to when we said man management. Some people need an hug, some people need shouting at, and just some people need it straightforward. So incredible, because I was going to ask that question. What focus? What was your fulcrum? Do you know what I mean? What kept you balanced? Tipping this way or that way?
That really did save me from, you know, because who knows if I'd have gone back into a coma, one, would I have come back out, you know? Two, would I come back out with major dramas of again thinking that I was, you know, I had legs and things like that, and that could have just gone a whole other way than what it ended up. So yeah, he played a massive part there. And then from that point onwards, I got my mum and dad asked that I'd be told everything all at once. That was what they thought was best for me. I would agree. I think they obviously know me as well.
Yeah.
Some people maybe like to be drip fed things.
Yeah.
Other, you know, different people would have liked it, but I'm a let's do it straight way. And so they went through the list. The legs are gone, particularly high. Hip this side, left, above knee on the right, and the higher it is, the more difficult it is to walk on prosthetics. Testicles gone, can't have children. Penis severely sort of damaged and needed a lot of rebuilding in the future. Internal stuff, I had to have a colostomy bag fitted on the side that you pooed into that,
yeah.
you know. Catheter to wean to. I had a big external fixator. There was a lot like scaffolding fitted into my pelvis because that was broken in 3 places, and it's just like scaffolding on the outside that holds it all together until it heals. My right arm was lucky. One of the medics on the back of the helicopter actually thought that I was a triple amputee because it was hanging by a thread, but they miraculously put it back together. This way it kind of dangles, but that way I've got a lot of strength and stuff in
Right.
it. So essentially I've learnt to do things a different way, but I've got the use of my arm. No ear drumming this ear. Tried to have that repaired a couple of times, so I've lost some hearing. Got a hearing aid now. A lot of scarring throughout my body, where they've skin grafts and different pieces what they've took off. Got a muscle that was taken from my back that's on the end of this arm here to help that take.
So it's an extensive list.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the major ones. Of little things like my fingers bent, and I've limited use of this and no feeling down here because of the nerves damaged up here, and a lot of sort of little things that you don't even bother about anymore because
Yeah.
you just don't register with the other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I was told at the time that I was one of the most severe ever. About 18 months earlier, and I would not have been able to survive because they wouldn't have had the knowledge that they had through earlier Afghan casualties, really. So I was lucky, man, lucky.
How do you? I'm just trying to process all that myself. You've just been told that full list, and that your life now has completely changed, hasn't it? Forever.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you get through that?
So the early days were difficult because you're stuck in hospital, and I can't like literally had to be bed bathed. Toilet wasn't an issue because I had the things that could be changed and that, but cleaning your colostomy bag when it bursts and stuff's not particularly nice. I remember one particular night where you have to take a laxative because you don't want it to become too solid.
Yeah.
And one night I obviously had the bad runs and it kept slipping off this colostomy bag, and I was literally volcano of liquid shit coming out of the side.
Yeah.
And she changed my bed and helped me, this nurse, lovely nurse, and 5 minutes later did it again.
Yeah.
And you know, you're just like, so difficult. Essentially I became a 95-year-old man who couldn't do anything for himself.
It's that change of environment. You've gone right here. You are Mac Daddy, platoon sergeant. I'm looking after all my sheep, my flock here. To this environment now, like you just said, I need you to look after me. I need you to do it.
Yeah, it's not nice to deal with. I'm hoping by the time I need that much help again, that there is a way where you can be put to sleep, because I don't
Fucking hell.
ever want to be like that again as an old person. I'm very aware of that's going to happen earlier to me because of now I've got my strength, I can lift myself out onto a toilet and all that. And now, don't get me wrong, we all get to a certain age where I think all the faculties start going and you start needing help, but I think that it will be early for me because of the way I am, which is just a fact. Technology might help prolong, but that's something that I'm aware of in the future. However, at that time, all I was thinking was, like, my life's knackered, I'm not going to be able to drive again, can't play football, I can't, all it is I can't.
Yeah.
Little did I know, because I didn't actually know anyone with disabled. You don't really in the army unless you've someone in your family, I suppose, because you're with, obviously there's not going to be any disabled in the army because you need to be fit for the job.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've not had that pamphlet.
Yeah, it's something I was very ignorant to, you know, I'll openly admit. And that's why I don't bother if someone is a little bit ignorant to what I need now, because I think that's probably me, how I was. And not through bad, just because I hadn't become aware of it. But anyway, hospital, I spent 4 months and I just started to concentrate on the next operation, which was a week later, or then the one after that, and then 4 months later, operation after operation. That was sort of my goal going forward, let's get the next one done and stuff.
So they're small steps, aren't they? Leading to bigger.
It was all I could do, just think about getting out of hospital really. They weren't going to send me home from hospital, I'd move straight to Headley Court. So it was get to Headley where I was told things would be much better. Rightly so as it happened, but I didn't know whether that was true. So yeah, I just concentrated on that. I was very lucky that Charities looked after my family and my girlfriend, who could be with me like the whole time. They did do bits of trips home and stuff, but they were there. That being said, there was still visiting hours, so you were still spending a lot of time in a bed with your own thoughts.
In your own head, yeah. And at the time, this period of being in hospital, this is NHS.
Yeah.
There's no, because like the Americans have dedicated.
Well, it was NHS, but they were all military nurses and stuff on there.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different. It was NHS hospital, military ward type thing.
Right.
So they were good. You had military liaison guys coming around like, do you want to take away tonight? And they're paying bits of morale. Eventually, when I could get into a wheelchair, albeit hoisted into one, I could go into a TV room and have a bit of crack with the other guys. But certainly, sort of the first month of that, you were just on your own in a room. And I picked up some bug from the mud in the floor, so I couldn't be around other casualties.
Right.
So I that was a bit of a nightmare.
So let's put that on top. You're going to be a risk to others.
Yeah, absolutely. So
quarantine.
I did get told, and I've never really checked if it was true, but it was a medical person who said, and my mum mentioned it, that I did have malaria as well. I come back with malaria, which was probably slightly my own fault because I was not a believer in the malaria tablets personally.
No. We've had other conversations about this. Obviously, when we said goodbye to Wes, possibly something down the line of people who did go down that route. Has it messed with you mentally?
There's things that you can read and stuff in there that there were certainly people having bad dreams on them and all sorts, weren't there?
Yeah.
What about sorry to interrupt. The Mirac ones, we used to get anthrax.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
The lads were like, yeah, you get 2 days off PT. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Now, even then I was like,
Inject me. Yeah.
I don't want that. It's very fit.
That's obviously that was a difficult position to be in as a platoon sergeant because you were sort of told give these to your lads and make sure they take them.
Yeah.
I chose the route of saying I'm advised to tell you that you should take them. However, me personally, I am not.
Yeah.
But I'm saying to you that you should. Whether you do that or not is I would never have forced them to do it. Especially as I didn't believe it. You know, I'd have been a hypocrite. I'm sure I would have got a rift in if Ed Sheddon had known that I told him that, but I think you've got to be honest with your lads, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, in the grand scheme of things, I think the body armour and helmets, you know, what kit they've got is more important than popping a few tablets here and there, isn't it? But
And, you know, at the end of the day, I got malaria in the position that I was in, which was already on death's door, and I still come through, so...
yeah,
What do you know, how can you
Yeah,
argue with that?
yeah, the pharmaceutical companies are going to love that one.
Yeah.
so with regard to transitions now, you've just transitioned from being an able-bodied person to now having to live life in a wheelchair. But added to that, you've now got another transition of 1 minute you're a serving soldier, a T-farm soldier doing a bit on the front line, and now due to the extent of your injuries, you can't do that role anymore. So how did you transition from being in the army to what did they do with you?
Very little in terms of that, but you're so focused on getting better that really that didn't occur to me until a point way down, probably 18 months, 2 years down the line, where they were still going to give me a bit more time at Headley if I wanted. Yeah, so they'll give me a bit more time still in the army, if you will, but I chose to, I said, just get me out, let's get out, because I'm out already. I was out that day, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
You were just
funnily enough,
back, yeah.
10 years tomorrow, as it happens. But that's really the day I left the army in all form. So I didn't think about it at all until I got through that hospital bit. It was difficult. By the end I was able to go down for physio about an hour a day, which got me out of the bed and stuff. So I was getting more independent, but still very needy of other care and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Headley Court is just, it's a game changer really. One, because of what they do for you, and two, because of what you can see they've done for other people who are a couple of years ahead of you, that aren't the same but are similar injuries.
Similar, yeah.
You know, everyone's that little bit different or whatever, but if you could see a guy who wearing 2 prosthetic legs doing runs for charity or climbing on a rock wall, all sorts of stuff that I just didn't even think were possible anymore. Even they teach you to drive again and stuff like that with the adapted cars, and again, I love my cars, but I thought that was my driving days done, you know.
So you're starting to learn now.
All of a sudden there is a future. It's not the same, but it's not that bad either as what you thought.
You're looking at what you can do.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of can't, now all of a sudden there's a lot of cans. So I'm looking at that, and they gear you up for everything. They apply for your blue badge for you. You know, they show you what you can claim for in terms of what money you're going to get for the rest of your life. And again, it highlights it particularly now in the situation that everybody's in. A lot of people are losing jobs, can't work. I've got this secure, it's my pension, but it's like topped up as a wage.
Yeah.
So I've got this wage and it's for life, and it doesn't matter whether there's a coronavirus or whatever.
Rightly so.
That is a very, very privileged place to be in. Yes, people will say that you deserve it because of what happened, but it's still a privilege to be in that, have that stress taken away from you, you know. So there's that side of things. You start learning to like see what adaptations you'll need around your house, and if you haven't got a house that can be adapted, they'll start looking at property with you. I was moved to Blesma, the charity, had a home in Blackpool, and they had a little bungalow at the back of it that they let me stay in, and was it Triple P they called it, for when you lived out? And,
Oh right, yeah.
So the army did it under Triple P and sorted it that way for me. And then whilst I looked for my own house that I then bought, luckily I found one that was adapted, but I could have had charities come in and help me with that adaptations and stuff. I was helped out with wheelchairs, and Headley Court ordered them all in, but the charities fund it all.
So you never felt alone?
No, everything is sorted for you, and you need it, don't get me wrong, but let's face it, we're not always the best at coming through until sort of later on when we figure out the problems and then react rather than be proactive. But obviously there'd been Iraq casualties and then Afghanistan a lot earlier than me, so things had come on a lot better. They had a neuro ward for those with brain injuries and stuff that I believe I didn't go in it, but I was told it was one of like the top places. And yeah, it was just brilliant. Everything was catered from the early days where I needed a lot of help and being hoisted in and out of bed, because there's still a certain type of hospital environment with it, and as you progress it becomes more of a back in the barracks with the lads.
Right, yeah.
But there was still like they'd bring in an RSM that was there, and he'd still be moaning at people in the morning that weren't shaved and stuff like that.
Can you believe that? Yeah,
However,
you can't believe it.
However, you kind of got savvy to it, and you were kind of like, without saying fuck off, you were like, not bothered, like, what are you going to do to me?
Is this their idea though, of just trying to keep you in a routine?
I think it's probably trying to keep you in that military environment, definitely, because it was like that with the lads having the crack, and women were there as well, and it was good to be in that environment, but at the same time you weren't interested in the little bits where you did because
punch.
So for example, Friday was a half day and they let you go home. However, for all us that lived up north, as we always know, when you're based down south, if you don't get away before dinner time, you're stuck in the traffic jam of love. So by sort of, you know, a couple of months on, I figured this out, and I'm just nosing off the swimming class that I had to do before I drive home, and I was setting off at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. And they come to you and they say, where are we on Friday? And you're like, well, I drove home. And like, well, you were supposed to be in the class. And I'm like, yes, but...
So you're going to put me on 6 and 10?
I've got this bone that sticks out, and when you sit in a car for 6 hours, it's not very pleasant. So what are you going to do to me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you were a bit like that. And
they're coming at you with my clipboard says.
Yeah. But there was never, like, you never got punished for it because we knew.
Yeah.
I mean, what if they'd done something? Some of the lads had just gone and took papers and said, well, you know, look at this, we're being hammered for
Where is it? Just been for those geographically that don't know, where
just
is
north of London.
So just north of
or
London.
certainly it's definitely in very close to London. But yeah, it's an amazing place. But like I say, you know, you just at the point where I could go home, you wanted to be home.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, what you do is you do sort of somewhere between 3 and 6 weeks down there, still get weekends off, and then you get 2 or 3 weeks at home, and then you go back down again, and that's what it's like towards the end. But by the end of it, I was just going down to kind of try on legs, but legs weren't working for me at that point due to the technology and things. And they would have carried on trying, like I said, and they weren't kicking me out of the army or anything, but I just got to the point of saying, come on, let's just knock it in the head now. Let me start getting me treatment up north. There's prosthetics places up north that you can go to, and start getting my life back to how it's going to be for ease when I'm at home all the time.
Yeah. Reality.
But I wanted to get to that stage, so I think I got past all the... I know a lot of people find it very difficult, don't they, leaving the army, and I get why they do. But for me, it just didn't register because I had too much else to deal with.
It's another focus.
And by the time I'd got through it all, I was already out in my head, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So I guess that it was two separate, but Headley Court just helped me because they did everything else. So in a way, they didn't do anything to transition you through, but they didn't because you didn't need it. You were just doing all those other things that they were doing for you.
Yeah. It's like background support. And
there was the PRUs did start up where as well you got put into post recovery unit, I think it stands for, which essentially is a little unit where you go to instead of being classed as Lancs, you're now PRU, and they deal with all your admin stuff as you leave, and your pre-release stuff and bits and pieces like that. So there was that, but again I was like, I'm not really interested, I'm out and I'm done, and I want to move. I was always like, I need to move forward now, and not the army's now in my past. It'll always be part of me.
Yeah.
And I'll always do
piece of
things.
jigsaw. Yeah.
But I need to get to forward for me.
Right. You mentioned it earlier about it's your 10-year anniversary tomorrow. You've done and achieved more than I could ever imagine in these 10 years. Just tell us a bit about things you've done and experiences you've had in that window there.
I guess the first sort of thing I started doing once I got back to normality, really, was that I wanted to raise money for some charities because they'd done so much for me.
Yeah.
And it's something in military that you never really have time for, or you're just that busy that when you're on leave you don't think about doing something, which you could say it's a little bit selfish minded, but it's just, you are that 100 mile an hour all the time, you want that time at home, and it's not that you don't care. Probably if someone had asked, I would have done stuff, but no, it's just not, it never entered my head. But now I was like really fixed on, you know, they've done so much for me. So I started off doing bits and pieces, fundraising, and one of my sort of life goals was swimming with great white sharks. That's as long as I've been a Man U fan, I've loved sharks type stuff.
Yeah.
They've always been my two things. And I woke up early on in hospital over in Afghan that, don't worry, I'll still be swimming with sharks type thing. And so I really wanted to do that, so I thought I could fundraise a bit of money, not for the trip, I paid for that myself, but fundraise, you know, as sponsor me to swim with sharks.
Yeah.
And I went over and I did that, and that was like, I'm going to do it again, it's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Right there with the wild.
Went out on this boat with the son of an absolute legend who I've read about since I was a kid, called Rodney Fox, who I was very privileged to meet over there. He's one of my heroes. He was attacked by a great white.
Right.
He's got scars like literally around
Just like
a survived it and started coming up with ways to kill him initially, and then sort of started thinking, actually I'd like to learn more about them.
Yeah.
And became the person who invented the shark cage, for starters.
Right, well, it's like human nature, isn't it? Destroy.
One of the people who filmed footage for Jaws, like he's been involved in anything probably you've seen great white wise over the years type thing. So like I've known about him, he was a spearfisher, and he obviously had a fish on the end and it smelled the blood, and it's gone for him. But yeah, his son now took over from him because he's getting on a bit, and his son runs this boat now, Andrew Fox. So we went with them. I got to meet Rodney. We were comparing scars and having a bit of a laugh and stuff. But this boat obviously wasn't catered out for me, but they bent over backwards to make me be able to achieve my dream. And this guy who worked for a random company that made the little seats for airplanes that you can get down the middle for people like me. Got a real tiny seat. Well, he built me a custom made one to fit on the boat that went down the little bits on the boat and stuff. And that got sent over to Australia, and all these things got sorted, and I did it. 3 or 4 days, I forget now, but 29 different great white sharks that we saw over these days, ranging from sort of 6 foot to, I think the 15-foot was the bigger one that we saw.
Wow.
Just unbelievable.
Nature's just massive, isn't it?
You could have touched them. They were just, and for that was just my dream. So that was just amazing, and we raised a bit of money from that. Going back to more of the charity stuff, I started doing bits and pieces, fitness challenges, all the usual.
Yeah.
And then I sort of came up with the idea of forming the charity A Soldier's Journey. I felt like I needed my own brand to bring the money in, to give some people a shining light to go for, because I felt some of the charities that I wanted to raise money for were a bit old-fashioned.
Right. Yeah.
There was a certain big corporation charity that was kind of taking and sweeping everything up, and people have their own views on Health for Heroes. Things have changed drastically from its early days, but very early I know they didn't give money to people before Iraq, and I felt that was always wrong, because if it's a military charity, if anybody deserves it, it's people from like World War II and Falklands.
You can't pick and choose.
No, there were a few things I felt that they did wrong early. I know they've been rectified now, which is a great thing, but definitely early on I just felt I wasn't really happy with some things they did, let's say.
Well, you don't want to fly somebody else's flag if it's for you, for what
No.
you have in your head.
So I wanted a good brand that I could use, a good badge that everyone would like. It's obviously it's like any company, you want people to like your product, and I used that to then it grew and it grew and it grew, and it was amazing. There was my mum, who's an accountant by job all her life, so she did the accounts for me, and then an accounting firm in Blackpool for free did our yearly sort of books like that you've got to get done, but then obviously go online for the public to see. So everything's, and literally I think the only bill we paid was a phone line that was obviously dedicated for the charity, and I bought a laptop for my mum to do the accounts with, obviously.
It's business purchases.
Right at the end we had a lock-up because of all the stock for the shop and stuff, because my office and garage just ended up getting swamped after a couple of years. But at the same time, it was me doing it. Volunteers helped me with various events and bits and pieces, but I answered the phone, I did the merchandise, I packed the stuff, I got someone to give me an hand taking role to the post office now and again, but it was like run where everything went to where it should.
At this times give you a drive as well and a purpose.
Absolutely, because the more it grew, the more, George Briscoe, for example, would ring me up and go, I've got this guy from QLR, he's struggling to get a motorised scooter, such and such a charity are a bit like umming and ahhing about this, and I'd like, right, so he was definitely in, you know him from being in, as long as I can establish that, I know from then people asking a few questions what his disability was or why he needed it, and there wasn't because anything I needed I'd go through the charities, and you have to jump through a lot of loopholes, and rightly so to a certain extent, because people will take the mick like anything else, but I just felt sometimes there was a bit too much, and it should be easier and quicker when someone really needs something to be able to go, there's a scooter mate, it'll be at your house, I've ordered it, everything was done like that, where I ordered it and paid for it directly and then sent it to them or whatever. There was never money like handed to people, everything was done the right way, but quicker I felt. And I love doing that, and a lot of people, I helped a lovely woman who, she had cancer and her hair had fallen out, and all she wanted was a proper med wig. To feel normal.
Not a nylon made of her.
And nobody would help her, and she didn't have much money, she was not old, but she was quite elderly and wasn't working. And when we got it, I think it was a couple of £100, but it changed her life. And to read what she wrote to me and things about how it meant it changed her life, and loads of stuff like that. And I just fed off that. It gave me massive good feeling to read these stories.
Changing lives. That inner strength.
But there was two things ultimately why it ended. One, I chose to end it initially, but I was winding it down over a few months, because I reached a point with it where we were going to have to start employing staff, and I'm very reluctant with charity to do that. I understand how these big ones have got to do it because they've got to cope with the workload, but it just, I don't know, it just doesn't sit completely.
Removes from the word.
I understand. I understand why they do it. I'm not knocking it, but in the end, I decided it wasn't a road that I wanted to go down, and I just couldn't. It was becoming really sort of taking over my life, and as good as it was doing, it was then affecting me because I didn't have any time to do anything else other than this.
It consumed you.
And it was great that I was gaining the goodwill out of it, but I wasn't taking, I never took any money. Like I said, if I needed something, people were saying to me, get it out of your charity, and I was like, no, we do it separate.
Yeah.
Because if anyone ever comes to me with anything, I want to be 100% on the nut to be able to say, I've never took anything from this charity, and neither's anybody else.
Yeah.
The other thing I did, which turned out to be a mistake, was some guys approached me who were friends of friends, if you will, and what they did was they fundraised for charities, but they took a wage out of it, but that was they were a separate business. They would use my brand, if you will, my charity, raise the money and take a percentage of that for raising it for you.
Yeah. Like a commission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a good meeting with them. I stipulated that they had to employ military guys, ex-military guys, to give them work.
Yeah.
I knew a couple that were out of work and they took them on. So I thought that you've done a good thing there by getting them a job. The slight bit where I was naive was I didn't understand the difference between profits and the turnover of what they made in general. My understanding, naively, was that let's say they go out and they earn £1,000 from this show that they get. They've spent £50 on fuel. They're going to pay the guys a certain percentage of what. So let's say that the guys were taking like 5% of every pound they got in. So they've got them and them. I thought that money only came out of the profit.
Yeah.
However, what I've future learnt was that they take it out of obviously the turnover, and then the profits comes out of what's left after that.
Yeah, what's left over. Yeah.
So I'd stipulated that I wanted 70% of the profit, which I thought was good, because they obviously had their overheads and stuff, which was significant because again I checked all that out. So I was happy with that, because most of that, even most of their 30% was paying ex-soldiers who were working for them. However, in reality, they were paying those soldiers, and then the guys in charge were taking their big chunk, and then there was the profit that then they were having 30% of as well, and giving me 70. So I only became aware of this because a guy who is called Dr. Alex May is an anonymous guy, a bit of a keyboard warrior. He contacted me the first year of my account saying, why is this company not in with your accounts?
Yeah.
So I then go up to my account and say, what does it need to be in with us and stuff? And he says, yeah, we could do, so next year that's what we'll do. Fine, no problem. However, I was speaking to this Alex May who wouldn't meet me or anything. In hindsight, it's obviously because there's probably dodgy people out there who would go and kick his head in or threaten him or whatever. But for me, I felt, why won't he meet me? I don't understand what he fully wants.
If anything, I want to learn something off you.
I felt quite defensive, because I'm thinking, why is he like delving into what I'm doing? Everything I'm doing is like beyond what any other charities do.
Yes. Yeah.
In terms of how much money's going.
So
I didn't get it, and I was very defensive, but I was polite with him because I'm not stupid, and I seen it was email, and obviously what's on email is what's used. And it's a good job, because then 12 months later he looks at the accounts from this company. Now my mum did all the accounts and their accountant did theirs, and then the two got put to this other independent accountant, and he put everything for us all together. So my mum didn't really look at what theirs was, only this independent accountant.
Yeah.
And what they were doing is perfectly legal. You know, they could have took a lot more money from what they were doing and been legal. So none of it was legal. So obviously this independent thing has never flagged anything up. But this Dr. Alex May has looked into it, and he's seen the percentage of what is coming to the charity.
Saying it's not illegal, it's immoral.
Yes, absolutely, and he was 100% right. So when this finally then, a year later really, because obviously we didn't have to put any accounts until that following year, a year later it comes out, and then he points out these figures to me, but not only that, he sent it off to a paper, a national paper, so my name, my charity, is in the paper. You know, instead of just speaking to me and explaining, and that's the problem I had, because if he'd have explained to me a year before properly, it'd have been nipped in the bud a year earlier.
Yeah.
But because of the way he dealt with it, it went on for another year, and then he made my name look mad. Now, I got to, luckily, because I'd been in the press a lot, I knew a few people at papers and stuff. One of them contacted me and said it was going to be in, and I got to print a reply, if you will.
Yeah.
To state exactly what I've told you. I run the charity like that. That was separate. I am responsible for being naive and bringing them in. However, literally the day I found out, it got stopped. The charity was shut down. Everything ceased.
Yeah, well, you don't think, do you,
Why would
that
someone
people
do
are going to run that scam?
Why would they do that?
But it's,
Well, it's cowardice.
As I've learned, charities are one of the biggest money-making businesses.
Yeah.
And the whole problem is that they're allowed to do it because it's legal.
It's legal, yeah. It's when you look at it, and again, I've previous from this, I've had my bee and my bonnet for the exact same reason.
I was devastated, mate,
Yeah.
because I've stood on stages telling people how much percent we've give, but then when you put this to it, it's not like that.
No.
And it took everything that I'd done. Now, don't get me wrong, I've built up a decent reputation, and I've not had one single person come to me and say, whoa.
Yeah.
I did clock a few people sharing the newspaper article online like it does, so maybe there were people who didn't want to sell and did think bad of me. But in general, I didn't take anywhere near the hit that I thought I might. But honestly, at the time, you may remember that I was starting seeing Hanu with the one leg, and things were going really well, but that didn't go how I'd hoped. And I'd just split up with her, and then all this happened, and it's the one time I've had since I've been injured that I was like, well, I didn't want to be here, let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's obviously you've put yourself on a pedestal as well. People have wanted to knock you down. For what reason?
Exactly. Well, anyone who knows you, they think Clem would fucking never do that in the first place, and why would somebody have the cheek and the audacity to do that to you?
But it almost feels because you have been outspoken and charitable corporations, because that's the word I'm going to choose carefully, maybe it was a competition, a competitor could have put you in that position, you know, because it's an illustrious,
it's a dog eat dog world in business, and that's what they are, absolutely. I've not spoke about it to other than to very close people at all, not because I'm ashamed of it, but sometimes it's better not to put petrol on a fire, do you know what I mean? I think if I'd come out firing, saying I've not done this and I've done, then it gets it more online and it just continues. Whereas because I said pretty much nothing unless I contacted anybody that I'd dealt with who'd done nice things for us and said this is the situation. So I was very honest with anybody that I needed to be, but at the same time I just went into
it's a very difficult one as well to explain if you've not seen the inner workings and you don't understand the inner workings.
Yeah.
Like Danny and I have said, well, who do that? Who in the right mind? Well, there's plenty in the right mind.
There was loads. I mean, we were shutting down some but the ones that were doing it for fake charity. Yeah, so like I say, it put me in a dark place, and I don't know how, but I haven't really been to one since I got blown up. I'm really sort of lucky that mental health wise, PTSD, nothing. People always say, oh, have you not got any? But I guess my brain had so much to cope with early on that it didn't have time for that stuff. You know? And you know, I'm severely glad, because it's not good to go through on its own.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's no textbook for it either, though, is there? Yeah. You know, there's no scenario really the same. That's what we're trying to learn.
The one thing that's easy, obviously, is physical injuries. They can just look at it, treat it. You know, in that sense, it's easier.
Yeah.
There's arguments on. People say to me, yours is worse. I could argue that PTSD for some people is probably worse now. Now, do you know what I mean? Maybe not in the early days or whatever, but in terms of my life now, it's pretty good. But that's the one. charity was my baby. Do you know what I mean? I built it from nothing, and it was doing well. Loads of people were wearing the tops and stuff. You know, still people see them knocking about now. And I've got nothing. I threw all mine out. That's how I felt about it. I didn't want to see it or anything. So I lost that, and my relationship broke up, and it was just bad timing. I think the two knocked me to a low place. I was lucky that I'd met a therapist who deals with PTSD and counselling and all sorts of stuff through the charity, and I had a few chats with her just to kind of help me get my head straight in that period.
What kind of, was she a practicing therapist?
Yeah.
What kind of counselling were it? Because there's a lot of CBT and...
I know she does some CBT stuff, definitely, yeah. I didn't really have proper therapy with her. It was more like an informal version of it. She did take a few notes, she said, just in case things ever progressed, and then she could pass them on and whatever, and covering her own arse and all that.
Have you received anything throughout your journey, post-Afghan?
What counselling wise? So Headley Court get you assessed and things initially, but I was like, oh, I'm alright, so that was it. I've not had anything since, apart from obviously this little blip I had, but no, I've been lucky. I speak to the reps from the charities who they're looking out on you every so often, but like most of them will say, I don't really bother ringing you up because we know you're alright type thing. I think it's part of my age. When I got injured, a lot of the guys were younger and stuff, which, you know, I'd lived a bit more. I literally had the shark dive left on my bucket list because with the army you're always doing something like that, you know, adventure training where
you're always skiing.
Trips away. So I was lucky to have like done most things that I'd wanted and been able to carry on from that. I was just focused then on getting back to normality, I guess. The charity became that, and then I lost that. But before obviously that had happened with the company, I said I wanted to wind it down because I didn't want to pay people. So it was going to close naturally, if you will, over a few months anyway. I still raise money for charities. Scotty's Little Soldiers one that I like to do again because I've never had anything from them, because what Scotties do is look after the children who've lost their parents through military. So it's never something that's helped me personally, but when I was nominated for one of the Sun Millie Awards a few years ago, Nikki Scott, the wife of who lost her husband, who started it all, she was there as one of the nominees, and then that's where I learnt about them and loved them ever since then, really. So I like doing stuff for them, and I'm an ambassador still for the ABF, or the Soldiers Charity is what it is now.
Mark's been doing
it. Mark's doing his row across the Atlantic, isn't he? But from home. I ring him every couple of days.
It must be well bored. I mean,
wow.
Serious clippage as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doms.
Great stuff. But yeah, he's another one of the ambassadors for them. And Blesma have looked after me a lot in the past, so I like to do stuff for them. And I tend to do more for Scotties, really. Just again because I know it's built up from there. There are a few people that they employ in a small office and stuff, but they're not like some of the bigger boys. As we discussed earlier.
So it's going to the people that need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Other stuff that I'm on the committee for Man United's Disabled Sports Association. Something that I love doing. It's a voluntary thing.
Yeah, you give talks, haven't you?
I'll come on to that shortly, but that's just helping other disabled fans. And one thing that I said earlier on was, I've been ignorant about disability. Obviously I've learned a lot through myself, but I've also learned a lot through Mudsa about all the other disabilities that are different to me. Some are born with it, some are not wheelchair, blind, you know. So it's been great to see what the, you know, access to a match for them. I never even thought blind people would go to a football match. you would think,
just feel that.
but I totally get the atmosphere. You can still feel it and hear it, and
Yeah.
so I get it totally. But I would have just never occurred to me that a blind person.
Well, look, it's been documented that they're doing a lot. That club, we'll not keep mentioning them because you'll slap
Well,
me. Yeah.
No, it's
Well,
good.
Yeah. But
They should take
do you
take part in
feel
their book.
the role, they're taking it serious? This is
Absolutely.
not going through the motions. Not look at us what we're doing. And
They
getting
are
people
streets ahead of most of the Premier League. I'm unaware of lower leagues because I haven't been, but I would probably suggest they will be worse than the Premier League because of money situation.
Yeah.
But United are light years ahead of probably most of Europe in facilities, but mostly in the way that, like, when they're building something, Mudsa get the call, and Mudsa is just a supporters association like all the others, but it's the disabled supporters. So they've no need to, or reason, or legal requirement to phone them and speak to them, but they do, and they come in as experts because we live it, and advise them, and they take the advice. I'm sure they don't take everything, but they do listen, and they do give us a window.
Yeah, it's not being told, oh, my clipboard said this. It's
Yeah.
no, we've actually gone.
And
Real life, real opinions.
they give us access to the first team at least 3 times a year. There's Premier League clubs that don't give any access whatsoever to any supporters association. So to be one of the biggest, and probably social media wise, United probably ahead of anybody in terms of followers and what they need to do, like media wise. So to still give that time to us is like amazing.
But it's massive, isn't it? Across the world, corporation wise, they're still part of the big three.
Yeah.
Barca, Madrid, United.
Absolutely.
Well, they've rang you up, didn't they, to check on you? And what-
Yeah, one of the things they're doing is ringing season ticket holders, but not just anybody ringing from office, like legends. Brian Robson rung my friend.
Wow.
I know there's quite a few doing it. I got Andy Ritchie,
Yeah.
he's an Oldham star as well as United. But there's at least 5 or 6 legends ringing people up. And I spent 6-7 minutes on the phone. Like, it wasn't just a "you alright, bye"
Yeah,
thing.
take the next one.
It was, we had a good chat, and I was saying I was ex-military, so I was finding it lockdown just like being confined to barracks like I have been before. So yeah, but that was really just things like that, that people sometimes forget. United do have an element of being a local family club as well as this massive empire that they have.
Well, I think a lot of other clubs and teams should up the game, I think, and try and compete, really, because if they're setting that standard, it's something that others should aspire to do.
Definitely, and we meet with all the other disabled associations, so we pass on what we get. So hopefully some of their clubs will listen and take note, and that's the idea. Certainly with facility-wise, I know legislation came out a couple of years ago now where things have had to be improved by a lot of Premier League clubs. So that's a good step in the right direction.
Oh, it went on weird, didn't it? Last time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
completely different to ours. Completely different.
Yeah, it is. It's great facilities at Old Trafford for whatever disability you've got. So that is a credit to them. There are other good clubs in the Premier League.
We are.
Where were we?
We covered everything that United are doing for yourself.
Yeah, continuing that football sort of thing. Things I've been doing since injured.
Yeah.
I do a lot of sort of talks at schools and dinners, events, stuff like that. So if anyone needs one, give me a shout. But I just talk about a bit like today, really, what happened, and obviously overcoming adversities can be a title. I can adapt it depending on the audience. School kids obviously a different angle than yourselves or whatever. But I've really enjoyed doing that, and I've got to do it in London to big crowds, and I've done bits on TV and whatever. But one of the things, again, United, I was at the Mudsa dinner, which they have every year to do a bit of fundraising, and flyby,
Isn't it? Don't want to be on the wheels or helicopter.
Yeah, one of the things I was at one of the Munster dinners, and every year they get a different guest speaker. Which last year was Ollie doing it, so
Yeah.
it was fantastic. And instead of asking him a question, what I put my hand up for, I offered my services to chat to the team basically. I'd had a couple of Dutch courage, shall we say, but
Yeah.
We don't train.
he said, yeah, I'll take your details, and I thought, of course, but it actually followed through. His PA got in touch.
You don't ask, you don't get.
Well, that's it. I mean, I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
If he never got in touch, I know he's a busy man, and I would have never thought all about it. But he got in touch, and I got invited up to Carrington, and I had the players for a whole hour, which probably in their time world is a lot of time. And I got to tell him my story, and I got really good feedback from it. I talked about a lot of the similarities between footballers and military, and mental health side of things when you leave, and all sorts of stuff like the discipline, leaving home all the time, so much. But it went down really well. And again, like talking about bucket list earlier, that is something that I wouldn't have even put on my bucket list because I would have never thought you could just do it. But it was amazing. So I've done talks to Man U. So anyone else lower down now? I've done Blackpool as well. Blackpool as well, and I would like to add that United won. What was the European score? The big one, was it 4-1 or 5-1 just recently?
One behind closed doors with the Agallo wonder goal that nobody saw.
Yeah, it could have been that. But anyway, it was either that or the one before that. Anyway, big win.
Yeah.
And Blackpool won 4-0 after me talk. So.
Well, there's a pattern emerging.
Everyone except for Liverpool, get in touch.
Might get some subscribers on Blackburn as well, don't
Blackburn.
Not Blackburn.
No. Right. Shout outs.
I mean, there's such a list of people, but I'll sort of narrow it into certain groups. Obviously, everybody who worked on me medically. I've become very close friends with Hayley Venderbach, so special mention to her. But she was part of the team on the Mert. All of 13 platoon, particularly obviously the guys who treated me on the ground, and the reservists included that were involved. Our men, Bastion. I never even met those people, but they did amazing work on me to then get me home. People who flew me back, and obviously then in both Birmingham, Queen Elizabeth Hospital and Headley Court. Goes without saying, I owe my life to them, so thank you, hats off. There's a lot of people from them, the charities that have helped me, Blesma, ABF, Soldiers Charity, British Legion, even Help for Heroes have chipped in for some, like I said earlier. I had some issues with little things they did, but I still appreciate the help that they did give me. And I guess other than that, without sort of listing individuals, my family and my friends, those that have, like most blokes, like most military blokes, I don't really tend to talk too much about, and I haven't been through really difficult periods other than the ones I've mentioned, but knowing that those people are there for me if I needed them, I think is just as good as if that I didn't need them and I used them, if you get me.
Support network, innit?
And I've been lucky, like I said, I had a good upbringing, and they've been there since day dot for me. That's a few civilian friends, a lot of military friends, and my family. I think that covers it. Without, I don't want to start mentioning names because there's too many, and I'll forget somebody that I really want to. So I think it's better left at that.
Well, cheers for your time, Rick.
Yeah, it's been a learning journey for me, from even like education wise.
Yeah. I never knew you went grammar
No,
school.
yeah, it paints a big picture, but for me, sitting here listening and being with you in army life, stuff like that, how you've been able to reprogram how you think and how you act to adapt and overcome. So everything that you've done, for me, that's a hero.
Yeah.
True, and I mean that, Rick, straight from the fucking heart. It's people want to talk about action and this and that, the other. No, it's how you psychologically took on Everest and get up every day and go for it. That's heroic to me, because I don't know, me and Danny both spoke about this, how would we be able to cope and crack on? Someone as heroic as yourself would say, well, you'd adapt. Well, I'm not positive that I would.
Yeah,
Well,
you already beat me to what I'd say, but
you've just done all
thank you, but I'm no hero, I'm like you guys, I'm a soldier.
And that's what every hero would say, every true hero.
Yeah, you never say they are, do they?
No.
Right. You are. Just take it. You are.
We'll agree to this.
Positive conflict.
Well, you've done all your floor in a wheelchair. And
Well,
I can't do
that's
that.
probably
I'm
the
able
most
bodied.
heroic thing I've done, yeah, you're right.
People are sitting around here, we
Want a
want
bit of DIY doing?
Just nothing above about this
Yeah.
height, because I can't reach.
You said you wouldn't do it just for them around us, the old shaka for everyone, for the camera. No, I said he would do it.
Bloody millennials.
From surfers that we nicked it. They've not patented it. Any shout outs from you for this week, Danny?
Yeah, you might have seen it on the page about the Just Giving page with Sarah and Polly. They're doing 100 mile in June. They've reached the target, but I think it's better to improve that, because it's going towards on the back of Fraser's episode, the miscarriages charity. So just a couple of quid. I'm not asking for the shirt off your back or anything like that. If you can, do. If you don't.
Yeah.
No pressure.
We'll put the link in the description, as with all the other shout outs.
I hope you've enjoyed watching.
Yeah, shout out for me, subscribers please.
Yeah, being Jack.
Yeah, they are being Jack. We need the numbers up, and we're going to keep telling stories,
Real ones.
real stories by real people. We need the world to see it. Doesn't cost anything, like Bez said last week, and we keep banging on. It's just a click of a button. That's all it does, and it just helps YouTube observe what we're doing and what we're getting up to, and then we can ask them for a little bit more help in the future. So keep subscribing.
One final shout out, if you don't mind, to these two guys here. What they're trying to do is obviously get people talking. As we all know, there's too many people who shut down and go through stuff on their own, but you're not on your own. So use this channel, spread the word. Let's get talking.
Cheers, Rick. Thank you very much.
What a guy.
What an end. Shaka. Woo.